This is Conversations with Women in Sales, an award-winning podcast created by Barbara Giamanco, who hosted the first 67 episodes. Listen to interviews with amazing women about their journeys in their sales careers, often discussing sales leadership tips, ideas, and strategies. We aim to inspire women to consider a sales career and for some women to grow into sales leadership. Men, we appreciate your allyship. And now, your host, Lori Richardson.
What do imposter syndrome, running, being a physical fitness teacher, and thinking big have to do with this podcast? I'm glad you asked. It's the end of the year, and I wanted to share some highlights of conversations with women in sales. Some of our podcast episodes in a brief way. I don't want to bog you down with all the chronological order of what happened, but I want to highlight the year and give you a little teaser for what's ahead in 2023. So let's go back to when we started in January of this year. And I'm just going to pick out some of our most listened to episodes and some of the ones that I thought were the greatest. I love them all. I wouldn't post them if I didn't think it was a good episode. But there were some really great ones. And it started off in January with Ali Rizakos. She talks about imposter syndrome. And that was episode 118. And Ali is someone who took off and left corporate and is traveling. I think she posted a picture today with the beach and the water in the view with a couple of glasses on the table having coffee. It looks so lovely. And I love what Allie's doing. So check out that imposter syndrome session number 118, because it was really a good one. And right after that, we talked with Meg Hewitt at Salesforce, and she talked about tips to plan your sales career. Meg is someone I've known for a long time, and she talked about getting promotions and how that worked for her. So that's a really good one. Another one I want to point out was in March, and that was episode 122 with Natasha Sakat. Natasha talked about thinking big, and Natasha is at I'm sorry. I said that she's at EMC, but she is not at EMC. That's funny that they posted that. She's actually with Amazon. And Natasha has had an amazing career. She has an amazing backstory. So if you get a chance, look at 122 and listen to that episode. And then I have to highlight Williams. She's known as the pitch master. Precious was amazing, high energy. She was episode 124. And she talked about the killer pitch. And she's had a whole year of successes and really big things that she's accomplished. And if you want to think about thinking big, which is one of my things I'm going to talk about for 2022, definitely check out her episode 124 about what the killer pitch is all about and how she has grown over the years. And then Colleen Francis is an excellent sales writer. She's an excellent coach and speaker. She wrote a book this year called Right on the Money, and that's our session 125, episode 125. That was in April. I highly recommend hearing that one. And then I'm just looking down my list here. I have to highlight Jen Allen, who was with Challenger. She just recently left. But she did a session 129 on becoming a good storyteller. That was one of the takeaways and many things that we talked about. Jen's amazing. She's an amazing speaker as well. And be sure and check that one out. That's 129. 130 was with Amy Franco, who's one of the women's sales pros, sales experts. And we called that one Bet on Yourself and You'll Always Win. I loved talking with Amy, and she's involved in some nonprofit efforts with the Girl Scouts in Columbus, Ohio. And I just encourage listening to that session as well. The one right after that, 131, was with Roberta Matuson, and she wrote a book about managing difficult conversations. She's a speaker and an author, and that was a very popular episode. So be sure to check that out if you have any issues on managing conversations. I'm sure lots of us do. Then the next one that I highlighted was with Samantha McKenna of Sam Sales, hashtag Sam Sales. She's amazing. I called this one Sales Truly Helps, Not Hustles, because that was something Sam said in our conversation. Sam and we're on the same wavelength, and she's built an amazing practice and helps so many people with her knowledge coming from LinkedIn. She has all that background on how to be successful through LinkedIn, but also just in prospecting and building your brand in general. So please be sure and check that out. And they have a lot of resources on their website as well that you might want to check out. When it came to episode 135, this was with Heidi Solomon Orlick, and she edited a book called Heels to Deals. The Heels to Deals book is the first book I've seen that has just chapter after chapter, about 30 of them, about women's stories in sales, how they got into sales, and a little bit about their careers. So it's a wonderful compilation. I encourage people to read the book, Heels to Deals, but also listen to episode 135. It's the second time Heidi's been on the podcast, but we talked all about the book this time. At least I think we did. It's been a while. I'm going to jump to highlight. I just want to say the last 6 podcast episodes we've done, I love them all. And I'm just going to run through the names of each one and the episode number in case you're interested. But 138 was with Wesleyan, who's also a women's sales pro sales expert. She was fantastic. I love that episode. And it's really about the power of science in selling and her background in science, in the sciences. The next one, episode 139, was with Heidi Messer, who is very successful she sold businesses, and she is a heavyweight in the business world. And I love her episode. It was very highly listened to. We called that one When Knowledge is Shared, Everyone Wins. And then we have 140. Episode 140 was with Katie Visco. And Katie is an endurance runner, and Katie has run all across the United States, as she was the youngest woman to do that at the time. And then 10 years later, she ran across Australia. And I can't even believe how someone would go about doing that in the first place, but just so amazed at what she's achieved. And now she's in sales. And so she talked a little bit about running and the connection to some of the skills and the goals and things that she put in place in running and how that relates to sales. So that was a fun episode. 141 was with Helen Fanucci. Helen wrote a book called Love Your Team. It's an amazing book, and it takes actual examples of what you can say as a sales manager to help inspire your team and different situations. She covers 5 different areas of conversations and literally what you can say or what you should say in order to strengthen that area of your sales manager career. So check that one out. The book is called Love Your Team. And then I had Portia Jenkins on episode 142. I met Portia at the Girls Club event that was in Dallas this fall, and that's called Rise Up. Portia is amazing. She spoke on the stage, and I really wanted to capture some of her thoughts. So that's episode 142, highly listened to. And the last one I did was with Laura Colon. She's with Monash, and she also was at the same conference, and I heard her on the main stage. She's risen through the ranks to be a sales leader, and I really wanted to share her successes. Those are the highlights, and we have a lot planned for 2023. We're going to continue to interview women in the field who are working in sales roles and in sales leadership roles. If you have any women to recommend, I would love to know. Also, we have male allies occasionally on. Sometimes they're authors, like our friend Andy Paul, who came on. And so we are not opposed to that. It just needs to pertain to helping support women in B2B sales. So that's why I don't have a lot of people that work with entrepreneurs. There's so many speakers and talking heads and thought leaders out there. But I really try to hone in on what will most help those of you in sales and working your way to sales leadership, or perhaps getting into it or being in sales leadership. That this is for you, and that's why we choose the guests that we do. Now, it's the end of the year, and I encourage anyone listening to review your year, review your own year, what went well for you and what didn't. And I want to say that there are some really great free resources to do this. There's a company called Ink and Volt. Ink with a plus sign, Volt, Ink and Volt. It's a woman-owned company, and they offer some really great tools to review your year. 4 different tools. I want to encourage that. If you can't find resources, let me know, and I'd be happy to send them to you if you reach out through LinkedIn or through my email, Lori@womensalespros.com. And I also want to encourage you to set big goals, stretch, do some goals that you wouldn't normally think of. And we will be talking later on in the year about breaking them down and accomplishing them. You won't get anywhere if you don't stretch. So it takes work to be mediocre. I had a manager tell me that once. His name was Al Martin, and I've never forgotten that. Everybody can be average. Why be average if it takes work anyway? Why not just work to be above average? Why not work to be exceptional and accomplish some big goals? So challenge yourself. I'm encouraging you to challenge yourself, have an accountability partner, or set up some way for accountability in your, if you're in sales, have a team where people are accountable to each other. The other thing is that even if you're in sales, you probably, or you may not do this, which is to make time for prospecting every day of the work week. If you're a seller or if you're a business owner, I know we have a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and founders that listen to the podcast. Block out in your calendar time for prospecting, if not every day, then 3 times a week at a certain time, and honor those times. Honor the times that you block out. If you do that and you have more conversations with prospects, you're going to grow revenue. And if you don't, let me know and I'll take my words back. But I guarantee that if you want to grow revenues, you want to have more prospects, and you want to help more buyers, you need to have more conversations. So stop doing research and start talking to people. And that will change the trajectory of your business. And in sales, it will up your numbers dramatically. So accountability is crucial. If you're a manager and you're in sales, your manager doesn't help you with that. You can find other ways to be accountable. You don't have to just chalk it up to the fact that your manager's not helping you. Just get somebody else to do it and work with them and have them be accountable to you as well. So we're going to block out time. Also block out some time for learning and for review to see what went well this week, what hasn't gone so well. What are you going to do differently next week? Put systems in place. And by that, a system to do just about everything you need to get done. Things that are slowing you down, make a note of it, and then figure out how you can systematize it so that it's more streamlined. I've done as a business owner over the years many times. We're always looking at it and reviewing to see how we can be even better. And then let us know how things are going. If you've enjoyed the podcast in 2022, I'm going to ask you a favor. Please do one of 2 things. And if you do both, I'm really going to be appreciative. The first one is, and this can be hard to do, sometimes can be tricky to do a 5-star rating on iTunes of the podcast. You have to be logged into iTunes. You have to have listened. So you have to have downloaded 1 or 2 episodes, but then you can give a 5-star review. And if you're having any trouble trying to do that, let me know and I'll walk you through it. If someone had to walk me through it initially, it was tricky. And then the other thing, you can do 5 stars, you can rate it, which is great. But then the other thing is to actually leave a review. It's really valuable for people to have 50 or 100 of those. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you've even heard one episode and got some value out of it. It's the best thing that you can do to be appreciative to this podcast. And we check them regularly. Really appreciate that from you if you can do that. And regardless whether you do that or not, we're wishing everyone a wonderful time reviewing your year, which you should be doing right now, and then getting a start on the coming year. If you're listening to this after the year started, wishing you a big, huge, happy, prosperous new year. And thank you for being a listener. Thank you for sharing our episodes. What we have in store next year is going to be amazing. We have a lot of special guests that'll be coming on and look forward to you being a part of it. Thank you so much.
Big shout out to our official sponsor, Reprise, the leading full funnel, product led growth platform. With Reprise, your sales team creates, presents, and shares product demos perfectly customized for each step of your sales motion. Go to getreprise.com/womenInSales to try for free today.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Conversations with Women in Sales. You can find all of our episodes at womensalespros.com/podcast. Help us spread the word and let's change the face of B2B sales.